Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, depending on where in the world you are joining me from. I am Illuminati, and this is the Crypto and Cognac podcast show, as always, live on YouTube, Thursday, 7 p.m. every single week that we have the podcast going on. We are in season 4. This is the final week of 2023. And so we're going to do the wrap up. But before we do so, cheers as always. And of course, housekeeping. Nothing that I share with you this evening or any other evening should be misconstrued as financial advice, right? This is all about the ICE rule. Like Stephen told you, it's all about information, conversation, and education. I share a little bit with you, you share a little bit with me. And on the other side, we have a little bit more knowledge and awareness about this often cryptic space of cryptocurrency. Of course, we here in the Caribbean, not just during the festive times, but all year round, we do lime, dry mouth. So any conversation must include a drink. This evening, as always, I am having some cognac, and in celebration of the season, I'm having the limited edition gold package Hennessy VS. So cheers to you guys. So 52 weeks done. 2023 came like a hurricane, and so we have a tremendous amount of things to talk about as we recap the many happenings over the course of last year. First, let's take a little step back into 2022. The end of 2022 was a tumultuous time for the space. First, FTX going belly up, absconding. SBF and his team absconding with the funds of their customers. The market lost its blood clot mind, and we went down. It was a hard run straight into January. And interestingly enough, the first glimmer of hope that we saw in 2023 was one of the last glimmers of hope that we saw for 2023, and that was the meme coin bunk. So in my humble opinion, I think bunk kind of jumpstarted the market in 2023, and they ended the 2023 season with another airdrop, which put them back in the news. So I guess we had to say thanks to bunk. But in between bunk and bunk, we had so much things happen, right? In the traditional crypto space, in the NFT space, and we're just gonna run through quick, touch on a bunch of them until we get to the end. So January, we started our climb, I would say, back out of the doldrums. We made it back to over 1 trillion market cap for the whole crypto market. In February, we saw the SEC kind of signaled what their intentions were going to be for the rest of the year. They started proceedings against Kraken as it relates to their staking as a service. And that kind of signaled something that we would hear over and over throughout the course of the year. The phrase is just missing me right now. Maybe Stephen will help me out in the comments. Something point. Stephen, help your brother out. Been drinking too much yak over this holiday season. But yeah, that was February. In April, so March was pretty much a lot of the same things. In April, we saw big players like ARK Investment starting to refine and refile their Bitcoin spot ETF applications with the SEC. And I think that signaled one of the, I guess, dominant narratives for the course of the year as it relates to the approval of that Bitcoin spot ETF. We saw the Fed starting to be a little bit more conservative in terms of their rate hike decisions, pausing at certain times. We have yet to see a reduction, but a lot of people are pretty much confident that we're going to see that happen in 2024. That was April, May, we saw a lot more of the same things. And in May, we started to hear rumblings. And then in June, we were hit hard when the SEC filed a lawsuit against Binance and Coinbase, two of the biggest players in the space, which took the market, I think, by quite a bit aback. So we saw that attack on crypto really intensify at that point. I really need to go through my notes here and remember what that is called, because I am having an entirely crazy, what you would call it, brain fart. Come on, guys, where we are. Anyway, I will find it just now, guys. I will find it. What is it? Choke point is the name. The old brain, too much lubrication. So we really saw choke point 2.0 intensify May into June. In July, we got a little whiff of good news as the XRP SEC case came to a head. XRP having a partial win, but the bigger win was we got a little bit of regulatory clarity around the differences between, institutional sales versus retail sales, what might be considered a security versus what might be considered a security creating event. So, we had some good news there. I think every time there is a little bit more clarity in this space, it's always a good thing for the market. In July, we also saw the rise of Sam Altman's WorldCoin. This is one of the co-founders of OpenAI, which would become a significant narrative, not just in the crypto space, but I would say in the tech ecosystem space, in the global macroeconomic space. AI became a huge talking point, a huge narrative point, and we saw in July the rise of WorldCoin. If you don't know what WorldCoin is, it was where they were basically giving you tokens for the opportunity to scan your iris. Yeah, I mean, I didn't do too much digging into it because just from that basic understanding of it, I was not down, even though it was not available in Trinidad and Tobago, but it was available in places that I had been. And yeah, I just wasn't okara with it. So, I didn't delve too much deeper into that. In August, we saw PayPal kind of entering the space, launching their stablecoin. We saw a reversal in the SEC's decision against the US court's reversal in the SEC's decision against Grayscale's ETF application, basically telling them that the decision that they gave for not granting it was not cool, forcing them to go and take a look at it. Again, hinting that ultimately we would see a Bitcoin spot ETF be granted in October. We saw, despite some setbacks, we saw confirmation of SBF and his being found guilty as it relates to fraud, money laundering, and all these kind of things. Of course, that brought back up concerns about trust, about reliability in the crypto space as a whole. And then in November, we were hit with that gutshot boom when Binance and CZ agreed to plead guilty to charges against them by the SEC, by the CFTC rather, Binance agreeing to pay $4.3 billion in fines, CZ agreeing to pay about $50 million in fines. He is now waiting on sentencing, which should come sometime early in 2024. I think early February, that's due. We saw them go back at him, not wanting him to leave the country until sentencing, which did create, a lot of questions, a lot of speculations in the market, how that would impact Binance, how that would impact the crypto space, Binance being the most dominant player in this space in terms of centralized exchanges. I would say maybe in terms of everything, they're one of the most influential companies in the crypto space. So yeah, that happened in November. And then in December, we saw, despite all those things, Bitcoin continue its upward trajectory. We started speculating as to whether or not the bear market was over, whether or not the bull market was in full swing or not, and whether or not we would be seeing the light, whether or not we're going to see a spot ETF be approved before the end of the year. So far, we've not seen that happen. And there are a lot of speculations that we're going to see that happen in the early part of January. We hit, I think, a all-time high for the year of somewhere around between 44 and 45,000, which was great. And yeah, that's the basic, quick and dirty rundown of the year. In between that, we had tons of things happening on the NFT side. We saw the rise of Bitcoin ordinals, and why this was significant is that traditionally on smart contracts, as it relates to NFTs, the image for the actual NFT is not usually hosted directly on the blockchain, right? It's usually a link to a server that houses the actual image. And why that became significant is because, like, when we saw the collapse of FTX, a lot of the NFTs that were being housed on their servers, basically the images, we saw them just disappear, right? I was somebody who was obviously impacted by that, having my Coachella NFTs disappear, because even though I had housed them on my own wallet, my own custody wallet, because of where the servers that held the images actually were, those things disappeared for quite some months. Yes, we were able to get them back and get it back up and running, but that created a lot of questions about how NFTs were being done. And so we saw the introduction of Bitcoin ordinals, where two things happened. You had two varying perspectives coming out of that. We saw, one, ordinals created a new level of utility for the Bitcoin blockchain that we hadn't previously seen. So a lot of people were happy for that. A lot of people were very much pro ordinals as a result of that. But we also saw that because these images, because these things were being held on the blockchain itself, it was taking up a significant amount of network space and driving the volume of activity on the network up significantly. We saw, for a minute, the cost of transactions were just crazy, just because so many people were trying to mint, or what is the more appropriate term? It's not, they don't call it minting. What do they call it when you create ordinal? Anyway, it will come back to me. Inscribing, maybe that's the word. Anyway, yeah, it was taking up a lot of space on the network and causing a lot of congestion on the network. A lot of purists felt that the network should be left up to more serious financial transactions and not to be wasted on fickle things like JPEGs. So we have a little bit of a war in the various camps associated with ordinals. But I think all in all, it created good conversation around the prospect for NFTs on the Bitcoin network, the prospect for new utility on the Bitcoin network. So I think all in all, it was a net positive. In the NFT space, we also saw some, I guess, regulatory clarity, because we saw where the SEC kind of made a statement on NFTs claiming that most of the PFP collections were being done in a way that put them in the category of unregistered securities. A lot of crypto purists were like, yes, we've been saying this for a long time. A lot of the guys who not too okra with NFTs, they were celebrating that. I mean, it's always funny to me to see us fight each other and befriend people who at other times we would consider our enemies, simply as a means of undermining another group that we do agree with. But we saw that happen. We saw creators, I think, got undermined in the whole NFT space, as we saw a few platforms move away from guaranteed royalties for creators. Me personally, I think that's absolutely unconscionable. I think NFTs, one of the major points and utilities for NFTs is the ability to create residual income and guarantee royalties for the creatives. So I mean, that for me, that was a disappointing point in this year. But because of the cry, because of the demand, we saw it kind of come back. Most people still support providing or paying royalties to creatives, and I think individual creatives still have some level of guaranteed royalties on most platforms. Some of the other like bigger PFP collections, I think, have a lot more speculation in terms of you could decide if you want to pay royalties, if you don't want to pay royalties, if you want to support the community in that way or not. Yeah. And what else? What else happened in 2023? 2023, we saw a significant reduction compared to 2022 in terms of venture capitalists investing funds into the crypto market. So we saw a significant decline, dropping down from its peak in 2022 at about 29 billion, all the way down to about 10 billion in VC capital inflows. But just to put that into context, it still was the highest amount of VC capital invested into the market during what would be considered a bear market period in the space. So the only years that, and actually the third highest amount of, in terms of year spend, of investment by VC. So only being beaten out by 2022, which is the all-time high, and 2021, where we saw a fair amount of VC investment into the market as well. I think 10 billion, was a significant level of investment. It shows that even through a bear market, there were a lot of people still building ecosystem, building platforms, and continuing to move the market forward. But obviously we did see a significant contraction. We saw it in the job market in the crypto space. We saw it as major companies like OpenSea, Binance even reduced their staff complement. We saw projects kind of fade away as the funding dried up. And I think we're going to see a lot of that kind of coming back into the market starting in 2024 next year and building again to a new peak in 2025. I think we're going to see 2025 be a new all-time high year for VC investment. Obviously, the AI narrative did pull eyes away from the crypto market, and we saw a lot of money go there. So I guess depending on what other competing narratives are out there, especially in the tech space, we're going to see either more capital come back. But I think just from a growing industry space, I think we're going to continue to see more and more growth. I don't think we saw wallet contractions in terms of number of wallets. We may have seen contractions in the fiat value of people's wallets. I know my wallet was hurt significantly by the contraction in prices. But I think overall, what 2023 and 2022, even the later stages of 2022, offered was the opportunities for people to invest in projects that they believed in at significantly discounted prices, discounted rates. It allowed people to take time and not focus so much on the price and get to learn about the space, learn about different products, learn about different networks, different ecosystems. We saw new ecosystems come to the fray. We saw a tremendous amount of time and attention dedicated to airdrops in 2023. We saw some of the biggest airdrops in history. I think the Celestia airdrop was the second highest airdrop in terms of value ever, only beaten out by Uniswap's airdrops, which really you could say started the whole thing. So I think all in all, we saw, a tremendous amount of positive things come out of 2023. We are seeing the total crypto market cap pushing back towards the $2 trillion level. And we're seeing Bitcoin only about 25,000 off of all-time highs, with a full year to go before we are in the peak of the bull run, before a spot ETF has been approved. So for me personally, I think there is a lot of growth still in the market. So for those of you who are wondering if it's too late, I personally don't think so. Of course, do your own research, do your own risk analysis, do your own risk profiling, understanding what your time horizons are, understanding what your goals are, understanding what your risk appetite is, whether you're a risk-averse person, understanding what makes you more comfortable being able to, of course, custody your own money, remembering your seed phrase, writing it down, putting it in a safe place, or whether or not you're someone who needs to be able to call a customer support when the time comes, send an email. And if that's the case, you might be somebody who might be more interested in a centralized exchange. Make sure and do the heavy lifting in terms of investigating which centralized exchange is appropriate for you, which one is appropriate for your particular jurisdiction. Make sure you are in line with every single law in your jurisdiction, because while we may not agree with the laws, we still have to abide by them. We don't want anybody being afoul of the laws in their various jurisdictions. And especially for the Caribbean, not because something is, not illegal in Trinidad means you could get away with it in Barbados, or if it's good to go in Jamaica means it's good to go in Antigua. So make sure you are understanding of the regulatory environment for whichever territory you call home, or whichever territory you are a resident of, citizen of. If you hold a US passport, if you interact with the US banking infrastructure, make sure that you are in line, make sure you guys are paying your taxes, right? I know a lot of people are taking profits right now so that they could file their taxes for the 2023 period. You don't wanna really hit it big and then Uncle Sam or Uncle John or whoever it is, Uncle Trini, come to put a hand in your pocket and say, yo, you're owing us how much million, how much ever hundreds of thousand, or how much ever hundreds, depending on the size of your portfolio. So just, be safe, be careful, protect yourself. One of the major features of 2023 that we didn't really get a chance to touch on was hacks. I mean, it was a hacking crazy year, not just in the crypto space. We had a lot of hacks here in Trinidad and Tobago, in the region, in Jamaica. A lot of corporations being hacked, a lot of data. So clearly, digital criminals are very, very active. So make sure and protect yourself. Be careful of the links that you click. Be careful of the things that are shared to you. Be careful of the pages that you follow, on Twitter, on X, on Instagram. Make sure it's the official pages. Most influencers will never send you links directly and ask you to click them. So, stay safe. We always say, one of the perks of this crypto space is that you are your own bank, but one of the drawbacks is that you also are your own bank. So guys, thank you for being with me for all of 2023, and I look forward to seeing you guys in 2024 to wrap up season 4 and to get season 5 started. We've already started working on season 5. We have so many exciting things. The look and feel of the podcast is going to change a bit. We are going to be testing a few new platforms during the last set of episodes of this season as we get ready for season 5 and as we get ready for the bull run. We know everybody going to be excited. We're going to see a bunch of people who fell away last year come back. We're going to see a bunch of new people. We're going to have to take care of them. Stevie, we expect you to continue doing the great job of holding people's hands and teaching them the ways of the samurai Satoshi Nakamoto, right? So guys, as I say always, adoption is inevitable. 𝐿luminati out. Be blessed. Happy New Year. Be safe. Hope to see you guys on the other side of 2023, 2024, right? And in 2024, I wish you more and more for you and your family. Guys, be blessed. 𝐿luminati out. Peace.